Cool. So, to start off, can you name and describe your chronic condition?
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm really only diagnosed with a generalized chronic joint pain umbrella. I have some symptoms akin to a specific type of arthritis that I can't remember the name of at the moment, but my rheumatologist can't diagnose me at the moment with that because she says my symptoms aren't bad enough, which is so great. And I'm also very hypermobile in a lot of different joints, which doesn't help with the pain either. Really what it means for me personally is that there are certain things that will trigger the joint pain, like if I'm overexerting myself, if I'm doing like certain types of physical activity, or like I'll just randomly hurt, especially if I'm actually not moving enough. So it's really about finding the balance between like the amount of movement that helps my body without like hurting it further.
Okay, thank you. And then like, when and how did it develop?
I started feeling the symptoms around, I would say, early 2022. And then it got like progressively worse to the point where like I couldn't ignore it. I thought maybe I was just tired and like that was affecting it somehow. But I ended up finally seeing a rheumatologist this past summer because it got to the point where it was like very much actively impacting my life and like the things I was able to do. And when I saw her, she basically told me they did some blood testing. They found out that I do have like a genetic predisposition for arthritis and things like around that category. What she told me was that the ongoing theory is that I would have developed something akin to this at some point. But because I had COVID twice, that actually like spurred it on a little bit. So I got it earlier than a lot of the rest of my members of my extended family who have it. And that's also why I don't necessarily meet all the criteria to get an actual specific diagnosis yet, because it's so early, and the criteria is for people who usually experience it later on in life. Yeah, so yay.
Fun things.
Very fun.
What has been your access to treatment for like the chronic pain? I know you've gone into it a little bit, but like specifically.
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to have like pretty good health insurance, and because of that, I am able to see a rheumatologist on the regular. We did a bunch of different testing, and she ended up giving me a generalized anti-inflammatory pill to take for the pain. And also she tried giving me some exercises, but we backed off on those when we figured out the hypermobility thing was going on. Because sometimes exercises that are meant to help like with stiffness and inflammatory like stuff going on in the joints actually overexerts the joints. So when you're hypermobile like I am, it just like doesn't help the pain caused by the hypermobility. So we backed off on that. I've been doing light exercise, which is helpful, and I'm seeing a hypermobility specialist in December, and hopefully from that I'll be able to get some proper like physical therapy for that side of the pain.
Okay, so you pretty much just answered this one, but could you just like summarize like the main ways in which you manage it?
The pill.
Yeah.
Meds. Light exercise, and like really just listening to my body and figuring out like what it needs at the moment. Learning how to not overexert myself in that way.
Okay, cool. So like, has it impacted your wider physical functioning, and how?
Like, can you like elaborate on that a little more?
So like, has like the chronic pain like influenced how you are able to like physically function in the world?
Yeah. I don't take stairs as often as I used to. I know that's like the smallest thing, but like stairs used to like just not be a big deal for me, and now I'm like, I'm gonna take the elevator because if it's a particularly bad day, really fucks up my knees. And then just like, so that's definitely one. Walking is another. I'm very grateful that this year I have a car to like get around places, because I can't imagine doing that walk to and from the honors village like anymore because it was definitely bothering me a hell of a lot last semester, and things got progressively worse. So that would also bother me. Walking in particular, there's like, I have hypermobility in my ankles, so that really like fucking hurts if I'm not wearing the correct shoes. So like on days where I know I'm going to be doing a lot of walking, I have to be really like aware of what shoes I wear.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything else, because there's definitely more, but like the stairs are really on my mind right now because my knees hurt today, so I've been doing a lot of elevators.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I can't really like, it's harder for me to like kind of crouch down or like pick up things, and it's like, that feels like the smallest thing, but like, oh my gosh, it sucks so bad. Like even like getting into low cars, I'm like, ow, ow, ow. Like it's really like the smaller things like that, that, I mean, you just don't really think about until it is impacted.
Yeah. All right. So has it impacted your social life and engagements?
Yeah. I just can't do as much as I used to. Like, I'm a very busy person naturally. And so the things that I've had to kind of take a step back from, or just be really aware of like when my body needs a rest, like it's difficult because we're like college students, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I should be able to go out and like, you know, go to parties without having to think about it, or like go to this club without having to think about it. But if it exerts me too much, like I can't do it. That's not good for me.
Yeah.
And so it kind of sucks to be like, I'm 20 and like my body doesn't act like the quote unquote average 20-year-old's like body should/would, because the pain also contributes to like fatigue, and so that contributes to me not being able to like do much. So yeah, it kind of sucks just not being able to, having to say no to things even when I want to go do them because of like physical things.
Yeah. So kind of building off that one, have like the physical results of it created like any role limitations, like what you can take on and like the roles you can fill?
Yeah. I mean, as someone who has taken on a lot of leadership roles in different clubs, I'm very much looking forward to some of these commitments being over, because I just don't have the physical or mental capacity for them anymore. I had to basically take a complete step back from one club, and another club, like I have made a commitment to the end of the year that I really like do need to finish out, and it's weighing on me so much more than it would previously, just because I think there's a part of your brain that's consistently being taken up by my body hurts, even if it becomes like a normal thing to have your body hurt in that way. It's still expending that sort of mental energy, so it takes away mental energy for like other things.
So is there any other physical impact we haven't talked about yet that you'd like to bring up?
Nothing I can think of at the moment. I think I've covered pretty much everything.
All right, cool. So then, moving on, like how has it impacted your mental health?
Yeah, not well.
Yes.
It kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier, the like, I'm supposed to be young and like going out and doing things all the time as like a 20-year-old, and like I'm in college and you see like all these people like partying and da-da-da and socializing, da-da-da, and it's like I don't have the capacity for that, and that weighs on me so heavily because it's like I'm not getting any younger, you know, like, and it sucks for me to be feeling this pain that like my mom didn't feel until she was in like her 30s and 40s at like the age of 20, and having to deal with the impacts of that, and also like resting. I'm a person who like has had to learn how to rest in general because I do keep myself so busy. So learning how to rest without like feeling depression come on, or like, you know, something, or like, oh my gosh, I'm being so lazy right now, I should be doing something, like learning that sort of rest was like a process and was really hard at first. I would say those are the two main ways it impacted my mental health.
All right, cool, thank you. So like have the emotional results of it created like role limitations?
Like in what way?
Like, similar to like the question about like physical results and
Okay.
yeah, like has the emotional side created that same
Yes.
kind of limitation?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, kind of like I mentioned earlier, there's always that mental energy that's being burned up by the pain and the fatigue, and that's like emotional energy as well that's being burned up. So like my capacity in that way is just much lower than it was before, unfortunately.
All right. So, are there any mental and emotional impacts we haven't talked about you want to bring up?
Oh yeah, for sure. Subtle ableism.
Ah.
I have heard so much. It's mostly from older people. They're like, "Oh, you're young." Like, you know, I was at a concert earlier on in the year, and it was like a very chill concert with a lot of older people. And I sat down, and one of the ladies, like to my right, was like, "Oh, stand up. You're young. Like, if I can stand up, you can stand up." And I was like, my bones like feel like they're rubbing together. Like it was terrible. And when I was getting all these x-rays and like MRIs done over the summer to try to figure out what was going on, every single time I went into that radiology office, I always got a comment about like how young I was, or like, why am I here? People would be like, are you like, did you get injured? Like, we don't see people who are as young as you. And I had to be like, no, like I didn't get injured. Like, this is just my body. And having to consistently explain that to people and consistently hear that from other people is like really invalidating. Like, just because I'm 20 doesn't mean like I don't have chronic pain in this way. Like, that's such a weird assumption to make. And yeah, like I said, it's always been from older people. I don't think I've ever experienced it from someone my age, but
yeah,
yay.
I'm sorry that people do that. I'm hoping that we're moving into a better
That's
period.
my hope as well. And at least my family has never done it. That's what you know, it sucks to hear it from strangers. It would suck even more if my family didn't believe me. So I'm very grateful that my family believes me.
Yeah, that's always good. So we have talked about this a little bit, but how has it impacted your vitality, energy level, and susceptibility to fatigue?
Yeah, I'm very much more susceptible to fatigue than I was before, and that did come around the same time as the pain. And that's why at first I thought it was just like general long COVID.
Yeah.
But like it hasn't gone away, and so I also now have a diagnosis of chronic fatigue as well along with it because of the pain. Because it's just all this energy is being expended on the pain, and your body only has so much energy. So yeah, I'm like pretty tired most of the time, which is so great.
Yeah, I'm sure. How have the development and symptoms impacted your view of your own health?
I mean, I've had to come to the reality that like I am disabled, even if it's invisible, even if it doesn't look like traditionally what people would think of when they think of a disability.
Yeah.
And that like has completely shifted my view on so much. Once I came to terms with that, I was able to like come to terms with the fact that like almost like be nicer to myself in that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, this is just how my body is. You know, this is what it needs. What can I do to like help it out? And it is kind of odd because I never thought I would ever think of myself like that. Especially at least not so young, you know, at 20. And it was kind of a struggle to accept that, but now I'm at like a good point when it comes to just letting my body need what it needs and giving it what it needs. And there's also part of it that comes with like pushing it a little bit, especially when it comes to like exercise. Like even if my body feels like, oh, I really don't want to work out right now, it's the knowledge that like doing these like very like not strenuous levels of exercise, but like these gentler forms of exercise will actually help me in the long run, and kind of just forcing myself to keep that mindset and really tune into my body more than I did before.
Yeah. All right. So is there anything that we haven't talked about overall about your experience that you want to bring up?
Nope.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad I could help out.
Yeah, thank you.